How y'all doing today? My name's Ayin, and today's topic of discussion is going to be one thing needed for success. Just one thing. One thing needed for success. The one thing that's needed for success is for you to have a success in anything that you're doing towards working towards your goal or goals. Just one thing. Succeed in one thing. That's all you need to keep you motivated and build on those larger successes. Just pick one thing. Pick one thing out of all the things that you're trying to do, all of your goals. Let that be your first move. Your first move will be your first success. That's the reason why I speak about in some of the other videos when I'm talking about doing your research first. Your research allows you to, looking at whatever it is that you're trying to do, a lot of the times you bring down barriers in doing your when you're doing your research. You bring down barriers on things that you thought were harder than what they were. Or, like I said, worst case scenario, you do research on whatever it is that you're trying to do, and you find out it's not even something that you wanted to do. So you just save time. You just save time, money, and energy. But to be successful, you need to make your first move and start in whatever it is that you want to do. The other point that I'm making in this video, in regards to making sure that you attain your long-term goals so you can be successful, is a lot of times when we set up things that we want to do, there's a lot of steps that lead up to that grand success or whatever it is that you set out to do. Just pick one thing. Sometimes people get too scattered on all the, different workings or whatever it is that they're trying to do. Give me an example. Say for instance, you were wanting to renovate a home, right? Would you go into the house and tear everything out? Now, maybe that'd be a good idea if you had the money to put everything back in one go around. But normally, and I'm thinking even if you did have the money, normally, because I'm not a home renovator, normally you would do one room at a time, right? So say for instance, if you were living in your home and the overall goal was to renovate the whole home. Start with the smallest room first. One room. Don't start with 2, 3, 4, however many bedrooms you have, or bed, bath, and kitchen. Don't just do one room. One room so you can see that it's attainable and it's within your grasp. Do that and then move on to the next thing. Because you can only work on one thing at a time anyway. Sometimes we discourage ourselves because we take on more tasks than what's needed. And then when we're sitting there looking at the task as a whole, it gets overwhelming and you don't want to do it. One thing. Pick one thing. Pick one thing on your list of stuff that you're wanting to do. Let it be small. Let it help you and motivate you. I remember when I decided to go back to school, when I decided to go back to college to get my bachelor's degree, because I already had an associate's degree. And I can't remember if it was the first semester back or the second, but it was pretty early on. And I remember going to the classes, and you know how they give you your syllabus for that particular class. And at the time when I was going to each class, and they were handing out each one, and they're telling you about the things that you have to do for the whole semester. It's just like, man, this seems like a lot. It wasn't until I gotten home and I looked at everything that they had handed me from all the classes, and I'm measuring out the amount of work on it having to be team assignments where some of the work just wasn't up to me. We had to group up. Then I was commuting to college, so that made it worse. I'm just like, man, how am I going to do this and that? And it was just a lot on the plate. It had gotten so overwhelming. I actually remember just kind of thinking, man, I just might not do any of this. I might just, man, it was just overwhelming because I was just trying to digest the whole thing at this one point in time. And I remember calling up my mother and talking to her. And this was someone who had went on and, that excelled past what I was doing. She had done the bachelor's and done her master's, and she had done all of that while, being a single parent. And I thought to myself, man, I'm gonna just call mama. And I remember talking to her on the phone, and she said, son, the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. And what she was meaning by that was, opposed to sitting up here seeing this whole elephant that I had to eat, just take it a bite at a time. And that anxiety, that overwhelming feeling of just, it being too much had subsided. I started to see reasonable ways that I could approach what I was trying to do. So I did. I just let that day be a wipe as like an orientation to everything that I was doing. And I just took the punches as they came. And when I look back over that semester, like I said, I don't remember whether it was the first or the second, but when I look back over that semester, the way that, and actually all of my semesters, the way that things fell, they fell perfectly. One class had, this big assignment going on, and, the other one, it hadn't started yet. So everything was staggered and worked out. Now, I know that's not always the scenario for people, because I do know of people where they have everything landing at one big time. But I'm just talking about that point in time with me. And, from those situations where I talk about knowing people having everything handled at one big time, they were right there next to me in graduation, so they got through it. So the point of my topic, and the point that I'm making up off in this video, because sometimes a lot of the times we don't give ourselves the credit that we deserve, and we have bad self-talk. That's the reason why on this channel I talk about changing your self-talk, acknowledging your strengths as well as your weaknesses, is because when you do that, you take an honest look at yourself, an honest self-assessment. You see that, you've overcome a lot of things that you might not even know how you gotten through. So you got to give yourself credit. Recognize those small victories. They lead to larger victories. And like I said, the topic of this video, that one success, it leads to greater success. Take success. Take it as it comes. Pick one thing on your plate. Focus on that. Don't try to focus on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things, because that's really not reasonable. And then you'll kind of set yourself up to where you're thinking the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things that you're focusing on. Oh, well, if I fail one of those tests, I'm gonna fail because I didn't complete all of what I was wanting to do. I'm gonna fail. I failed. I failed myself. And then people, that's how they fall away from things. So pick one thing that you're choosing to succeed at, so you can gobble up that gift or gobble up that goal, so you can make your way to the next one. Eat that next goal up. Eat that next one. Before you know it, you'll be at that long-term goal. Okay? Just food for thought. Just something I wanted to share with you today. It was on my mind. In the meantime, if you hadn't already, check out a book I've written. I Am Kilimanjaro's The Arithmetic of Family Communication. I will leave a link in the description box. In the meantime, stay encouraged. Avoid being discouraged. You all have a good one.